Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Gallup, New Mexico. It's one of those Route 66 cities from the song Oklahoma City looks so, so pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico. And now we're here. We are seeing Gallup, New Mexico. Gallup is known by various names: the heart of Indian country, the Indian capital of America. But apparently, it's also the home of the House of the Lamb Stew. Ooh, sounds pretty tasty. Gallup was founded in 1881 as a railroad town because of the abundance of local coal. And as much as it's an Old West town, it actually wasn't named for Gallup like galloping horses. It was named for David Gallup, the paymaster on the railroad. Naming your town after the guy that gives you your paycheck. Smooth move, Gallup. Man, Gallup is a beautiful city. This road is called Coal Avenue. And wow, look at that historic old movie theater showing Lego Batman, of course. You know, I still haven't seen Lego Batman. Well, the economy in Gallup, New Mexico may have started with coal. Whoa. But once the railroads really got going and Fred Harvey started promoting tourism in the Southwest, Gallup's position on the edge of the Navajo Nation and its proximity to the Hopi people, the Zuni people, as well as many other Native American groups, it became the de facto capital of Native American arts and crafts, and eventually, as this massive sign points out, home to the Intertribal Indian Ceremonial, a massive gathering of Native peoples from all over the country, and as far away as Canada, I believe. And of course, since Route 66 ran right through the town back in Route 66's heyday, Gallup was only double confirmed as the capital for Indian arts and crafts. People still come here from hundreds of miles around to sell authentic art, and there are wholesale art and pottery and jewelry dealers all over Gallup. And thanks first to the railroad and then to Route 66, now you know. Jeez, we hear ya. And now to the internet. They ship this stuff all over the world. If you're a collector of Southwestern or Native art and jewelry, you will definitely want to come to Gallup. Now I'm standing on the side of Route 66 because I'm hoping to get a glimpse at one of the oldest and most famous trading posts on Route 66, Richardson's Trading Company. Also known by its world famous neon sign as Richardson's Pawn. You see, pawn shops didn't have the negative connotation back then that they do today, and this place has been open since 1913. That's 114 years of selling stuff. 114 years of travelers coming in this store, and now it's my turn. Wow, would you look at the size of this place. Whoa, this store is massive and they have so much stuff. Understandably, with so much local competition, they don't want too many photos or too much video inside. But there is an amazing amount of stuff in there. So much art, so much jewelry, and I can't even begin to tell you how many saddles. The Richardson family have been operating stores and old-timey trading posts in New Mexico for well over 150 years, actually. Some of their original trading posts have become museums in other towns. Sadly, the 99-year-old owner has just recently passed away, but the business is still in the family right here in Gallup, New Mexico. Man, the trains just never end over here. All right, now it's time for the old Rex Hotel Historical Museum. This old hotel was built 117 years ago, right over here next to the railroad tracks. Last time I was in Gallup, I was here too late and it was closed, but not today. Wow, check this out. A one-time hotel. Now, a museum. This museum focuses a lot on the coal mining in town and the Eastern European immigrants who followed the railroad into Gallup to mine the coal. The very cool, very friendly guy at the entrance to the museum was explaining to me that this building has gone through a lot of changes. Of course, it was originally the Rex Hotel, then the police restored it and used it for some of their offices. I believe they even had the narcotics division in this building. And at one point, he says, it was even operated as a Hobby Lobby. Man, with places like this, I don't even really know what to focus on. There's just so much here. Like, look at this monkey stove. Never heard of a monkey stove before. Wow, here's a whole bunch of coal mining artifacts. Oh, and check out these old stamp machines. Look at the prices on there. Check out some of these photos of the old coal miners. I haven't seen that much coal since Christmas. Whoa, and look at all these old city directories. Check it out. There's an ad on the back for the Intertribal Ceremonial. Whoa, this is very interesting and very unusual. Check out this old wooden headstone for George Reynolds. I've never seen a grave marker like that in a museum. This is so cool. There's a lot of Gallup history contained in this little museum, including a lot of relics from the World War II era. Look at that. There's an old World War I uniform right there. And over here's a little information on the Navajo code talkers. More about them later. Gallup was named by Rand McNally as the most patriotic small town in America. There are memorials to veterans everywhere in town. And check out some of these military uniforms donated to the museum from local inhabitants. Side note, Gallup, New Mexico is one of the few towns in the United States that refused to turn over its 800 Japanese Americans and would not send them to internment camps during World War II. The melting pot is strong with Gallup. I love places like this, don't you? Oh. Won't give me the time of day, huh? Everyone else in this town is friendly. You know, the great thing about museums like that is they're almost always free. You know, when you're driving down the highway or you're going through an old town part of some city, you always see those little museums and you think, I don't know if I have any money on me. Go inside, usually they're free or for donation only. And it's always such a great way to get to know a place that you're visiting. Which after all, is the point of travel, by the way. Look at that guy up there, huh? Looks pretty familiar. I told you those guys were everywhere.
We seen your grandpappy yesterday, cowboy.
All right, next up I'm trying to find the Chamber of Commerce, but I can't help but notice all these old automotive relics of Route 66, some of which look very historic indeed. I really have to be rolling along soon. I don't have too much time left for Gallup, but I really don't want to leave without learning a little more about the code talkers, which were Navajo who used their native language as a code to confound the Japanese during World War II. And because so few people spoke the Navajo language, the Japanese couldn't figure out what the heck it was. They never broke the code, and it was probably key in winning us the war. Oh, perfect. It's a weird thing to walk into the Chamber of Commerce, but they do have a lot of information. And here's the display right here. This display brings up the point that a lot of Native Americans went to war for the United States. Oh, and here's some of the code talkers. How about that? American heroes right there. Wow, look at that. They even have some of their uniforms. Oh, and check out some of these other artifacts. Ooh, there's a proclamation signed by Ronald Reagan instituting the National Navajo Code Talkers Day. For a long time, nobody knew about the Code Talkers' contribution to the war. Mostly because at the time, what these guys were doing was considered ultra, omega, super duper top secret. And by the time the war was over, the Cold War was starting, and the United States government thought, well, we might need these guys in their code again. And by the time it wasn't so secret and classified anymore, there was just a lot of other stuff going on. Look at all this information, man. They had a serious contribution to the war effort. And there's a lot of other stuff to see in Gallup. In addition to everything else we've already seen, Gallup is super famous for its neon signs and 1950s architecture. It has a mega long strip of those old signs and service stations. Then of course there's the famous Hotel El Rancho, which was home to all the movie stars in the Southwest. But it's best to see the neon at night, and I don't really want to get into that hotel until I get into that hotel and spend the night there. So it's time for us to say goodbye to historic Gallup and make our way back out of the city and back onto the open road, Route 66. Man, the landscape out here is just breathtakingly gorgeous. New Mexico. Everywhere you look is a formation more amazing than the last. Look at that. That's church rock out there. Is it any wonder that this area was used so extensively in old westerns? And views like this are so common out here. It's mile after breathtaking mile of this. It's really no wonder that they call New Mexico the land of enchantment. I had to follow quite a bit of interstate after Gallup because the new modern interstate is built right on top of the old historic highway for a while. But that's about to change right here at the historic Continental Divide. Welcome to the highest elevation on Route 66. 7,275 feet. You wouldn't think so to look at it at first, but this is a very important milestone on our journey. The Continental Divide is where rainfall is divided. West of this point, all the rain drains into the Pacific Ocean, and east of this point, all of the rainfall drains into the Atlantic. Well, or into the Gulf of Mexico that eventually drains into the Atlantic. This used to be a very important stop on Route 66. There was quite a thriving tourist industry up here at places like Top of the World Souvenirs. And even today, tourists are lured off the interstate to visit things like the Indian market or take a fun pic with a covered wagon. It's crazy to think that if you spit on the ground right here, half your spit would go to the Pacific and half of it would go to the Atlantic. Awesome. Oh, they have some rad t-shirts in here. And as you would expect, a wonderful selection of Native American arts and crafts and all kinds of other souvenirs in there. There were two very lovely, very kind Navajo ladies in there that were talking to me about my trip who convinced me that I needed this Kachina doll, this here, is Mudhead, and they said that I needed him because he's known as the clown. I guess I'm just that easy to figure out. Continental Divide is not only significant because of the whole rainfall and Continental Divide part, but it's also the start of something wonderful. More than 40 miles of unbroken original Route 66 that's not on the interstate. Now that, my friends, is a thing of beauty. Wow, look at this place. Johnny's Inn and the Red Mountain Market and Deli. That's a sign that we're passing through Thoreau, New Mexico, which the locals pronounce through. So we're really passing through. A lot of people ask me what the big deal is taking a little 2-lane road like this instead of taking the interstate. What is the big deal about driving on old, actual, historic Route 66? I can't explain it. There's just something magical about it. For me, mostly, it's the thought of so many people going down the exact same path before me. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, and millions of other people who traveled to the Southwest. People were taking this path long before there was any Route 66. I don't know, something about that just really appeals to me. That's why a lot of people call Route 66 the road of memory. If you think about it, Route 66 was just as important in forming parts of our country as old Gothic cathedrals and castles and stuff like that are in parts of Europe. And what's funny is that as I travel, I meet a lot of Europeans who totally get that fact. And I run into a lot of Americans who are like, what's the big deal? It's just a piece of road. Check this out. There's just so many old abandoned buildings along the route. Something about this one just caught my eye in particular. Maybe it's the old stone walls or that Swap Meet 66 sign up there. But it just makes you wonder, who lived here? Who worked here? Who shopped here? You can still see plenty of books in there that never got sold. Wow, look at all that. Honestly, this is exactly the type of place that I would love to stop and check out all the stuff for sale. I wish I could have visited this place in its heyday. Pretty amazing though, huh? Look at that. Oh! And there goes the train. And how about this place just a little further down the highway? If you look closely, you can still make out the words rattle and snakes. Look at that right there. That's amazing. Think of all the kids coming across the Southwest for the first time in the back of their parents' car, Route 66 saying, Mom, Dad, please, I have to see the rattlesnakes. It always fascinated me that no matter where you're from in the United States, there are gnarly, poisonous snakes. So I have no idea what it was about the Southwest that made people really want to see rattlesnakes. But there's rattlesnake places all over the place out here. You can almost make out some kind of writing on an old arrow of paint up there, but it's all boarded up and forgotten now. Looks like paradise was lost. Oh, I love this place. Oh, here's another ruin over here. Wow, this is awesome. This is one of those original Bowlin's trading posts. I believe this particular one was known as the Old Crater Trading Post. As you can see from some of the rock on the ground here, there's a volcanic crater nearby. My new friend Steve over there pulled off the side of the road. He said that when his family moved out here in 1959, they came to this trading post, and he could remember seeing all the display cases with all that old school merchandise, Indian arts and crafts, and of course, like any good old school Route 66 trading post, this place had its fair share of rattlesnakes. If I have the right stop, then this Bowlin's trading post was built in 1935. Modern interstate travelers will be familiar with the name Bowlin because the Bowlin family owns travel stops all along I-10, I-40, all over the Southwest really. And this was one of the earliest ones. You can see now it's all boarded up and abandoned. In some places it appears to be boarded up with pieces of its own old school billboards. At one time there would have been gas pumps out here, but you can't get gas out here anymore. You can't even get a drink, which is kind of a bummer because I'm so thirsty. Oh, no water there. It's amazing that the modern interstate is right there and only one exit down is a modern Bowlin's Travel Center. If you didn't get that crucial freeway exit, you couldn't survive, couldn't stay in business once the interstate came. Those who couldn't afford to move sadly went the way of the buffalo. Luckily, the Bowlins were able to carry on business elsewhere, but look at this. The original Old Crater Trading Post now has seen some better days. Look at that old wallpaper on the wall. I don't know if I'd want to go all the way in there. Wouldn't want the roof to come down on us, would we? Look at all that old school wallpaper. You can see in the back of the building, there's actually a bathtub in a small bathroom there. So it is conceivable that some of the Bowlins actually used to live on this property. This is a little disturbing. No one's living here now, but there do seem to be the remnants of some dogs. Poor Fido. There's his collar right there. And there's his jawbone. I'm not sure how two dogs would end up dead right next to each other like that. I mean, unless it was a two-headed dog? But that kind of makes me uncomfortable. Maybe it's time to move along.
Well, how about this? You can see this portion of Route 66 is 2 lanes on each side, divided highway. The divided highway portion of Route 66, that would be the direct ancestor of the modern interstate. You definitely don't need this many lanes out here now, but once upon a time, this was the main route of traffic. Wow, look at this old motel here that's obviously now a private residence. Imagine having a giant old school neon motel sign right at your house.
That is pretty awesome.
Now passing through the very small town of Milan, New Mexico. That's pretty much the whole town.
My grandma used to say it's the type of town that if you spit on it, you'd make a rainstorm.
Look at all this. Look at that over there, that small old school motel.
The main industry in this area used to be uranium mining. But thanks to some state taxes and of course the Cold War ending, uranium was in less demand.
And now many of these towns have shrunk to just a fraction of their former size, and they were never really that large to begin with. Still some pretty radical signs out here though. Starting to see a few more funky old Route 66 businesses.
Because we're coming up on the town of Grants and the end of this old section of historic Route 66.
But still home to plenty of epic Route 66 history. Look at that, Charlie service station. I don't think it's open. Wow, or how about this old muffler shop?
There's an old theater on one side of the street and this old diner on the other. Look at that crazy old school neon sign. Hollywood Diner. They must be serving birdseed in there because all I see at the diner today are pigeons. Oh wow, this is pretty cool. I feel like Indiana Jones. You can see here that it was once used as a store and later as a tattoo parlor. No pain, no gain. I don't know if I'd want to get a tattoo in there today, but at one time, this must have been a really cool looking diner. I can't tell, but I think that sign up there says Pet Paintball Fever. Weird. Well, I think whoever owned that place and whoever owned the Stockman store over there must have moved out of town. It's the sad fate of many industrial communities in the United States. When the industry goes, so goes the community.
The funny thing is though, is that even though some parts of this town look pretty, I don't know, run down,
I've already had like 5 different people ask me what I'm doing and have really friendly conversations with me.
So Gallup is a very friendly place. Look at that right there. The Roaring 20s Speakeasy Restaurant, Bar, and Grill. Packaged liquors.
The building is long gone,
but it's awesome that they've kept the sign right there. That's amazing. I'm looking for something that I hope it's not too late to see somewhere in this town. And oh boy, look at that building right there. Check that out. That's awesome.
Somewhere around here is the museum about the uranium mining.
And I think I might have found it.
Let's just hope they're still open. That guy Steve I was talking to back there is a retired Army veteran who once worked in the uranium mines, and so did his dad before him. Whoa, check out this giant bucket here and this cool ore car. I'm surprised none of it's glowing.
The museum actually just closed, but this very nice lady in here just turned everything back on. And now I get to go through the whole museum all by myself. Look at this, my own private uranium movie. Okay, I have watched the film, and now it is time to descend into the mine.
Weird. Oh my goodness. Oh, mine goodness.
We only went down 1 floor, but I actually feel like I'm way down in a uranium mine.
Oh wow, look at this. What the heck?
This is the station where they load up the uranium ore to take it up to the surface.
And I recognize this from the video they just showed me. This would have been one of those ventilator tubes bringing fresh air from the surface and the fan in there, blowing it out to the miners.
Oh my gosh, I'm learning.
Look at this is the way they would have had to hold up the sides of the mine. I never knew they used chain link fencing to do that. This is one of the chutes that they would have dumped the ore they're mining down into the cars.
Whoa, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Some of this is genuinely a little bit creepy since I'm in this museum all by myself. Guess there's nothing to do but head on into the mine.
I know that guy Steve I was talking to said that his dad and his uncle came from out by West Virginia and Kentucky.
I wonder if a lot of former coal miners came out here to mine uranium.
Whoa, check this out. This is an example of the open areas they would mine uranium.
I know that I'm actually downstairs in a building, but they've done a fantastic job of making me feel like I'm actually underground in a mine.
All by myself.
Don't mind me, just drilling some uranium.
One thing that occurs to me is that it's kind of oppressive and scary and creepy
down here in the basement of a museum. It must have been 10,000 times worse to be actually deep underground. I feel like I could get lost just down here in this simulation, much less the real thing. Oh, what's this? Ooh, this is a long hole drilling machine. Oh yeah, now you're talking. This is my kind of equipment. Wow, this is really covered with real dust and grime. Ooh, I know what those holes are for. Those holes is for dynamite. Fire in the hole.
My name is Bill.
Oh, Bill. Oh,
You're now at
that
Station
voice
8. The
scared
holes you see here.
the heck out of me. Look at the size of this massive mine. I don't remember the last time I was in a museum this detailed or that went to these lengths to make you understand what it felt like to work at someone else's job. Boy, this narration goes on forever and ever. But you can learn a lot of interesting stuff. Whoa, imagine having your repair shop underground. I never knew that you couldn't just see uranium underground. They had to use Geiger counters just to find it. It's all contained within the sand used to make sandstone. So they had to grind up all the ore they dug out and use chemicals to separate the uranium, concentrate it into something called yellow cake because of the color. And then if I'm remembering what I heard in the film correctly, 1 pound of yellow cake contains the energy of 10 tons of coal. Maybe it was 1 ton to 10 tons, but I think it said 1 pound. That's pretty crazy. Just hanging out in the lunchroom here, having a break from mining. How crazy is all this equipment? If you live in this area, likely you had a grandfather or a dad or a relative who worked in the uranium mines at one point. I think it's pretty cool that there's a place you can come and check out how all these guys did their job, maybe how dangerous and rough it was. Crazy to me though, that these guys mined uranium. Plenty of them had complications resulting from the radiation. Some of the uranium obviously would have been used in nuclear power plants and stuff, but a lot of it would have been used in nuclear bombs. I'm definitely glad that we don't need as much uranium today. Okay, time to head back up to the surface and say goodbye to the strangest portion of the strangest museum I've ever seen. When you think Route 66, that is not what you expect to see. Those guys were hardcore. Okay, this is a pretty radical model. I wish I could build stuff like that. Oh, how epic. Look, there's a radiation training manual in there. I'm feeling very thankful that I don't need that on a day-to-day basis. Wow, look how many different uranium mining companies were all in one small space. This history is so powerful, it's nuclear. Whoa, look at that old original New Mexico Route 66 sign. That's awesome. Never would have thought that Route 66 would have brought migrants to work in uranium mines. I forgot they also mentioned that they actually found dinosaur bones down under there with the uranium. Nuclear dinos. There's the dinosaur bone. Whoa. Well, now I've learned more about uranium than I ever thought I would. Just goes to show you, you never know what you're gonna find down old Route 66. Thank you guys for coming along on the adventure with me today. Make sure to check all the links down below in the description for how you can help support the video. Subscribe and tune in next time, and I'll see all of you a little further along down the road. Whoa, wait a minute. Are you telling me that this sucker is nuclear? No. This museum's electrical, but I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity I need. 1.21 gigawatts?